Hi, Amanda. Welcome to our mindful meditation.
Hi, Allison. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are watching, I met Amanda back in July of 2022, flew to your home state of Wisconsin to see you because we were doing an interview. Well, you were doing a photo shoot, I should say, for Opera News magazine. Cover story, wearing a beautiful aquamarine necklace, which I am adorning myself with today. But I was asked to join for the photo shoot. So Patina Gallery would adorn you with beautiful, beautiful and unusual jewelry, fitting for you, a beautiful and unusual woman in the opera world.
It was such a joy, I have to say. And those pieces, they made me feel so elegant and regal and strong. And so
Oh my gosh.
I was so glad that you were there and that you brought what you brought. It
Well, you
really made the shoot for me.
Thank you. You were an ideal model for these beautiful pieces. Every time, the planning was great to bring the right pieces for the right place and for the right clothes and the right mood. And you just, came alive with these pieces. So thank you. So it felt good to adorn yourself with these beautiful pieces.
Oh my goodness. What a joy. What a joy.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Well, it's good to see you again all these weeks later, and congratulations on the cover story in Opera News. The wonderful magazine, and it must have been such an honor to be on the cover of the magazine. And I found, just watching you as you were being photographed, that you have amazing presence. And I know that you started out as a dancer. How did your dancing prepare you for the stage and to be an opera star?
Oh, it entirely prepared me. Dance is all about feeling your body and being in your body and using the entirety of your body for expression through music. And it's been enormously helpful, because when I approach a piece for the first time, that's where I go first. You feel it in your bones, you feel it in your body. I was so lucky to have that training from a young age to instinctively then go there.
The dramatic part of any role that you take on, I mean, it's not just your voice, it's the entirety of your body, the expression. And
yeah, exactly. And I mean, the voice is in the body, right? So it's attached to everything you do and everything you feel. Now that can be good and bad, exhilarating and very, very difficult. But
absolutely. Well, I'm impressed that, given sometimes very short notice, that you have to prepare to perform and to memorize. I mean, I'm sure, I would imagine in your schooling, you were taught to know certain operas. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, went to school at Northwestern and the Curtis Institute of Music for my master's. And yeah, I was prepared very well in that, I had kind of musical training all through my childhood, but then was able to refine that, through all of the classes that you have to take as a music major. But they refine your thinking and refine your brain so that, when you do have that opportunity to step into something quickly, as young singers, well, really singers of any age,
Yes.
are often asked to do, especially these days.
Yes.
That the foundation had been set to be able to find success in that experience.
Well, I know so 8 years ago, you really started. That was your start at the Met. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say that that's when I really started, because I had, there's a lot of preparation and also a lot of opportunity that happens before.
It was a lifetime. It was a lifetime to get
a little bit,
yeah.
But that 2014 season was my Met debut. Yes.
It was your Met debut as Countess in The Marriage of Figaro.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, which you've performed many times.
Yeah.
And you are a soprano.
And I don't like to label that much these days, but
okay. But I know sometimes you've been asked to be a mezzo. I'm taking voice lessons here in Santa Fe with Anthony Michaels Moore. I know he's a baritone, and his gosh, I'm having the best time, and I am no professional by any means, but he is trying to help me find my voice and to be a little more warm and velvety and more mezzo. And
Awesome. Good for you.
and thank you. So, I know that when you came to the Santa Fe Opera a few years back and you were asked to be a mezzo was it and Mozart, Così?
No, not there.
Not there.
That role, Fiordiligi, is sung pretty traditionally by a soprano. It's the composer in Ariadne auf Naxos that it can be cast either way. It can be cast as a mezzo in the role, or it can be cast as a soprano, and there are reasons for both.
Okay.
So I took on maybe somewhat more traditionally mezzo role in my own, kind of soprano voice. And I have to say it was quite exhilarating to participate in, and to be able to play a pants role is a rarity, a rarity in sopranos' lives. So that was incredibly freeing, I found, to be able to, to play this very masculine, kind of intense energy, kind of soul. And,
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. And pardon my ignorance. I'm still learning about opera as maybe you're learning about jewelry, and we're finding our middle ground with all of this. And
we're all learning, right? That's what it's all about.
But coming to Santa Fe, Patina Gallery is located in beautiful Santa Fe. We have our lovely Santa Fe Opera, which we adore. But I know coming here is exhilarating, but challenging because of the altitude and the dryness.
Oh yes, that gave me a run for my money for the first time that I sang in Santa Fe, and people warned me about it. Oh yeah, you arrive early, the altitude is you're going to feel affected, and
yes,
I took that warning and the advice and all that, but still, it really does a number on you. It's all of a sudden long phrases that you would be able to sustain. You realize you're starting to run out of breath a little bit sooner. I noticed for me the feeling of my high notes is just different in Santa Fe. So making obviously we talked about the dancing before. I'm a really kind of in the body sort of person, and so when the feeling is off, that can be a little freaky, because you're not entirely sure how that affects the sound, and so then you end up trying to do other things and maybe adding an inadvertent grip.
Yes. And when you're on stage, how does that feel when you're captivating an audience and obviously you want to be perfect. You want to, and it's hard to go there and to be that all the time. You're human. You have to deal with the altitude. You have to deal with things that come up for you. But your audiences are still astounded by you and your presence and your maturity, because you're so young, and people have, anytime, but people have said that you are like an old soul when you're performing, and having watched you over the last several days and absorbed you, I would completely agree. You really you're captivating. You really absorb these characters, and you are an old soul on stage. I'm very impressed with you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think it really is about giving up on perfection.
Okay.
I think, obviously we strive to use our body and use our sound to best express and share and communicate, with whoever it is that we're singing for. But in that pursuit, if we get too hung up on a perfect sound or a perfect performance or a perfect high note or such, I feel like a lot of us tend to get lost in the analyzation of seeking that perfection, rather than being present with each breath that is new and fresh in the moment.
I love that.
And just merely communicating. And sometimes that imperfection is the thing that the audience finds the most exhilarating.
Yeah, it's your vulnerability. I liken it to what we do here in this world of art jewelry. Working with we're working with artists. You're an artist, and pieces have nuance. An art piece will have it might have a little imperfection. It's not made by a machine. It's made by a human, as your voice is, as you are. It's made with, with two hands and two eyes and a heart and a soul. And so there are, imperfections in a piece. Sometimes someone will say, well, what do you think about that? I'm like, it's perfectly imperfect, and it needs to be. And that's why it has character, and that's why it has soul. And that's why you need to buy it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
100%. I mean, I imagine that it's those little nuances,
Mhm.
in the jewelry
All
that
in the
really,
nuance.
that people fall in love with, and that it's what makes that so special,
Yeah.
to the person who wears it.
And you just gave a perfect analogy to exactly what you do, your craft and being on stage. And I know that you're teaching now. You're at the University of Michigan.
I'm here right now.
You're there right now. And thank you for
Need a
taking
break
the time.
between students.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, thank you. And so how are you juggling that, your performance schedule? I know you love your vocal performance and your teaching. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is my first year full time at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and it's been an interesting ride, I have to say, because it is teaching, the giving of teaching,
Yeah.
that's so important. Is a different form of giving than getting up on stage and giving,
Yes. Yes.
and I have to say it's given my energy a little bit of a run for the money, a smidge, just because when you see a student kind of working through things and trying and
Yeah.
experimenting and making new discoveries about themselves and what they're
Mhm.
capable of, I mean, that just, for me, that lights me on fire.
Yeah.
I loved my teachers. I was
Mhm.
constantly inspired by my teachers. I was lucky enough to have great ones who believed in me and were enthusiastic in me. And so wanting to give that to the student without
Yes.
overwhelming them
Yes.
has been a fascinating process. And yeah, I obviously have no slowing down of singing, and I think that's good for everybody. I think it's important that students are inspired by teachers who are going out and doing, and who.
You're still performing and teaching simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, so that my students see that, what they're preparing for.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and can
you're living the life.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully they find that inspiring. And then I also, it allows me to go out and work with new colleagues and get new ideas, and oh, this happened this way, and then I can bring that back to the
Yeah.
studio and share that with them. It's I've been really, really lucky in this artistic career, and to be able to, find now, new sides and new dimensions of it. It's incredibly rewarding, I have to say.
That's marvelous, because I know you speak a lot about, how important your home base is for you, your husband, your stepdaughter, your family, and not being on the road constantly and living this nomadic life. So
Yeah.
I would imagine teaching is really grounding for you.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. It really is, so that when I go out and perform, um, I found it much more special.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
also is freeing to me to have that grounding, a place to come back to, and
Yes.
people to come back to, obviously. When I have that, I find, for some reason, it gives me the keys to try more, you know what I mean? To experiment more, to play more, because
Well,
if it goes wrong,
and
I
you're
can still come
maturing
home.
as a woman, you're maturing as a performer, as a person. And so with that, your evolution is you're finding your comfort with, and I know you also studied education too. So you're sort of coming back to your two areas of interest.
Yeah, I actually started out, before I got to college, I taught tap dancing,
Oh,
the young ones, to, really, really little ones,
yeah.
and enjoyed that quite a bit. And, yeah, you're right. I started out as vocal performance and music ed at Northwestern University. And eventually I didn't continue pursuing the ed.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
kind of still wish that I had stayed
Yeah.
in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very cool to kind of bring it all full circle. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's
Absolutely.
incredibly
And I,
joyful.
I know that during COVID, you know, that was a trying time for any of us who are in the arts, whether it's performance or, you know, for us, the gallery is a bit like a museum.
Yeah.
Those were trying times. And you used the word, I was really taken with it. The word exposed or exposure, and how wearing a mask, you know, limited your exposure. But the word exposure has sort of new meaning in these new times, and the way we expose ourselves to new ideas post-COVID, to how to present ourselves, not only in your vocal performance and in the operas that you choose, but as a teacher. So, you know, I would love to hear you sort of, you know, speak about that.
Yeah, you know that, yeah, I mean, wearing a mask, right? It's awful, but necessary, you know, just as you said, you know, obviously to prevent exposure from the, you know, diseases that plague
And
us,
it is
you know,
still present. It is
and
still
multiple, yeah, it really is. And but it's interesting how, I don't know if other people felt this way, but how then removing the mask, you know, we would, during COVID, would rehearse in these masks.
yeah.
If somebody had told me 10 years ago that I'd be rehearsing in a mask, I'd think that they were Looney Tunes, for lack of a better term. Yeah. But you know, we were rehearsing in these constantly. And then to remove the mask, you know, finally, when we got to that performance experience, I was expecting it to feel freeing and liberating.
Yeah.
But I actually felt, you know, that word exposure, right? More exposed, more vulnerable. All of a sudden, like, wait, this is I don't feel as safe, you know, not from a health standpoint, but from a being standpoint, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, that going from that, where, you know, you feel very protected and maybe even have an excuse to removing that, and then showing,
Yes.
remembering that beautiful part of artistry, which is
Connection.
allowing yourself to be vulnerable and going and connecting. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, for you as a performer, even for us here, I mean, it's in our eyes, but it's in our whole expression, and sort of that dramatic role. I feel like I'm on stage every day, you know, in the
Oh, I'm
gallery.
sure.
We
Yeah, I'm
set a
sure.
stage, and the audience comes in, and it's a new dramatic performance every day. We never know what it's going to be, but it's that part about connection. So when you're on stage, you're connecting with your audience through your whole face,
Yeah.
whole being, your whole expression.
And to
So
come back to that after pulling it away, you
yeah,
know, in the
yeah,
rehearsal process, it took me a minute. If I'm being totally honest, it took me a minute to
yes,
remember that and trust that and go into that, you
yes.
know,
Has
I
it
think.
changed the roles, or what you choose? Has it moving forward?
No, I wouldn't say that the masking or the pandemic in general has
Yeah.
kind of you know, encouraged me to take a little bit different path. I um you know, I've been really lucky to sing some of the things that I always hoped that I would, you know. And then there's this question of, okay, if you've done all of that, what comes next?
What's next?
You know,
I know
or
you love Mozart. Yes, is Mozart one of your
I
favorite?
love Mozart and I will always love Mozart, but I have sung Mozart for a really long time.
Yeah.
And you know, you start to kind of reassess maybe after about 10 years or so, kind of, okay, do I have something left to say in this repertoire? Do I have
Yeah.
something left to give? And sometimes that answer can be yes, and sometimes an opportunity presents to maybe do something outside of the box that you wouldn't have necessarily envisioned for yourself. But once you get in there, you know, you realize, oh yeah, this.
Finding your voice, finding a new voice with a new composer that's exciting. Given
Yeah,
the
it
opportunity.
is. It is very exciting. I just got back from singing Katya Kubanova with the London Symphony Orchestra and Sir Simon Rattle, which was a glorious experience. And you know, luckily they got it. They'll release it in both video and audio form.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it'll be really exciting. But that was a role that I never really thought suited. and I thought maybe it was a little bit on the heavier side, and maybe, if people were expecting a richer voice or a deeper sound. But I have to say, I'm so glad that I took that risk, because in it, I found a deeper connection to a character that I'd never experienced before. And even, I would say Mozart women are some of the most truthful human women.
Oh, I love that.
In opera. They,
Yeah.
the most should be the most relatable. And yet I have found myself much more expressive in that, in Janacek and that type of rep. So I think this stage of life is kind of about the surprises.
I can, as you're saying this, I can only imagine that when you take on a new role, it's like a new friendship. You're getting to know a new character, and then you're embodying that character. You're sort of fusing with that character. So there's an interesting interplay of self and other. And gosh,
and man, is it a process? It is a real process to discover who this new friend is.
Yes.
Right. And how you want to bring what it is that you bring to that.
Yeah.
To this new friend.
I think that's so exciting. Do you have a favorite aria?
To sing or to hear?
Well, let's do both. To hear.
Oh. To hear. This sounds kind of cliche, but I think my favorite aria to hear is still Visi d'arte, Tosca. I'd never sing it ever, but in a way, that's what makes me love it more.
Yes.
Because.
And who's your favorite performer of that particular aria?
When I was in school, I obsessed about Act 2 of Tosca with Maria Callas and Tito Gobbi.
Oh.
It's just the perfect blending of physical and vocal sincerity.
I will go home immediately and listen.
Oh, go immediately.
And anyone who's watching this recording, please listen.
Oh man, it's just the most extraordinary thing. And I actually played that aria for my students last week in studio class. And I said, what are you hearing? Because I actually don't think Maria Callas had the most beautiful of voices, but she had the most expressive of voices. I said to my students, I'm like, you can pull this apart and you can talk about the high note and maybe how the vibrato is a little bit wide and how, here goes out of tune or whatever. I'm like, but at the end of the day, I am completely captivated.
Well, that goes back to what you're talking about with the nuance and imperfection, that it's not so much that maybe being off tune a little, but it's her expression. And there's humanity. There's humanity in that.
Oh, is there really? Yeah. And I mean, and there are, obviously I enjoy other artists too, but that one has lived with me. Even the Act 2 of Tosca, but specifically her version of Visi d'arte has lived with me longest.
Okay, so what about you? What is one of your favorite as far as performance?
When I, favorite, right? I guess for me, favorite is always when I feel most in the moment, where I don't have to put any sort of like technical analyzation or concern in the mind, and I'm able to be fully present with what it is that I'm saying. So that can be a different aria depending on the day or on the experience. But you know what? I don't mean to like get fussy or anything, but
I get it.
One of my favorites to sing, honestly, I have really enjoyed singing Composer's final, the last aria of Composer, Componist in Ariadne of Naxos. I have to say, it's passionate, it's visceral, it's about making art, it's about making music. And
can you give us the tiniest taste of it?
Sing it?
Just the tiniest little part.
Something
like that.
That's all I got today. I've
It's
already
fun.
been
It's
teaching
fun.
for a
Well,
couple hours.
having taken, my voice lessons, I know that, when Anthony gets most excited is when I have really thought about the music. I've learned the music. I close my eyes. I pretend that I'm on the Santa Fe stage and I just let it go. And he's like, yes, you got it. I'm going to be a singer
Yay.
of you yet. So yes,
I
you
love
let
it. Is
go of
that
the,
not exhilarating?
it
You know?
is, and it's playing the piano and you let go of all those details of breathing and all of it. You just let it be.
Yeah, I tell my students all the time that technique is muscle memory. It doesn't live up here,
Yeah.
And the more you can trust that and really free the mind to be able to be truly present in the character and in the moment, the more joyful for everybody.
More joyful for everybody. Amanda, you are such a delight. I loved meeting you last summer, and we have a new friendship. I hope that when you return to Santa Fe, you will come by and see us. And
absolutely,
course,
I have to say I'm distracted by all of what's going on behind you.
there's a lot of beauty going on behind me, and of course, Tamsin Z, this beautiful aquamarine set. Oh my gosh, that you were wearing on the cover of the magazine. For anyone who's not seen Opera News magazine, Amanda, graced the cover, and there's a beautiful article. Oh my gosh, we were in your, in Sheboygan there at the lighthouse.
Lighthouse.
Oh
Man,
my
was that wind blowing, wasn't it, Allison?
It was blowing, but look at Amanda in this beautiful red gown with the red obelisk of the lighthouse in the background. That was a beautiful shot by Dario Acosta, and there in the marsh. Of course, we got some beautiful jewelry on you that mimicked the grass, and your hair was blowing in the wind. And those are moments that not everyone is aware of, but we were there and we were present for the beauty of that moment. And then at the Kohler.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, Allison, I haven't looked at this yet myself.
Amanda, look at you. You are radiant.
So cool.
You are radiant. And,
wow.
You're radiant without the jewelry, but the jewelry always helps.
The jewelry always helps.
Jewelry always helps. So, here you are again in your beautiful dress. And you are a wonderful, wonderful woman, character, mother, teacher, and it's really been a delight and pleasure to get to know you better. And for those of you tuning in and watching this recording, follow Amanda, follow Patina Gallery, follow myself. I'm Allison, and just stay connected to us through just reach out through social media and what have you. We have all new ways of staying connected with one another in this new world, and in some ways, I would say COVID. This is the silver lining of COVID. It really helped us find new avenues to stay in touch and do this. So again, Amanda, thank you.
Oh, it's such a joy, Allison.
Yeah. It's great to see you again, and enjoy teaching and performing, and our paths will cross again soon.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
You take good care. Bye.
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 Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Wow, this was so fun.